like, hire one to go see how it goes.
Yeah, on that similar notion, I don't think a lot of the people that are new to the space realize that for every item you mint, you have to pay a gas fee, like on every single item that you mint.
Oh
So
yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, everyone's like, just make new blockchain items. It's like, yeah, well, right now it costs me close to $10,000 just to create a couple of hundred items. It's just like, I'm not going to do
This
that.
doesn't sound realistic.
Like,
Yeah.
I guess the team
Exactly.
can't pay for them anymore.
You know,
Yeah.
and true credit to the work that you pulled off, really, because I just remember when we were when we were going through it or whatnot. You know, from my personal perspective, I was thinking like, okay, gonna be down a couple days. I've been playing for a while. I've seen other little things, get fixed in the past, so I can see how this plays out. And by the end of the Easter event, no one's gonna be talking about the downtime. And what
Yeah.
ended up happening? As soon as the servers went live, and as soon as things like started looking good, everyone comes back in and starts cracking golden eggs, and it's move on to the next thing. You know what I mean?
Man, it was popping. It was popping. And while we're on that subject, like we're talking about, I know we always joke about like, have you considered a team? Obviously, that's like a question that comes up. But like, let's say you have like your ideal situation. What would be your first hire, and like what would like how many people like would you hope to have on this team, like in the infancy of it, if you were to hire like a team?
It really depends on the sustainability of it. So, people are like, oh, you must have made a lot of money during Easter. Why don't you just hire like 20 people or a bunch of people, like a whole team? It's like, yeah, I mean, your graph, like your income graph does this, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, cool, let's hire a team. And then the Easter event ends and it might be back down to here. And that team you just hired, you can't pay for anymore. So really what I'm looking for is it to go up. So I have the ability to have the wages, and then it needs to like at least stay constant at the very least. Ideally, you want it to keep going up. So while like the Easter event now and the extra player base is really good, and I'm really happy with where it's at, it needs to continue. So so that I have like the confidence to go, okay, look, I'm making enough money now to be able to pay myself. I can then look at hiring a team. Who am I going to choose? You don't want to do up too quick. Like some mistakes that some of the startups do is to just do this with their team members. So they're like, yeah, let's hire everyone. And then like, they don't even look at any of the financials for it. They're just like going, quick, we need to do something. And then they end up crashing or dying because their income disappears. Or there are investors and their product doesn't work, and then they just have to lay everyone off. So like that doesn't work either. So preferably what I want to do is to start adding 1, 2, 3 people, like, hire one to go see how it goes. And to answer your question about who it might be, it would be like a programmer initially, because I just need the help to do some of the tasks that I do. And then as things expand out, you just kind of pick and choose who you need as to the gaps that are there. It's also not an easy thing. You don't just be like, yo, just come work for me and that's it. Like
there's a whole onboarding process. It takes a whole bunch of
contracts
time
and all that stuff. Like you've got to make sure everything's in place, and then not only that, but then you got to pay insurance for having those people on board. If you've got like a workplace, you've got to pay all that. Like it's not like people are just like, yeah, just hire people. It's not. It doesn't work like that. And people will be like, oh yeah, I'll work for free or something like that too. I've had issues with that in the past where they'll either lose interest or obviously they get a paid gig somewhere else and then they do something. I also like to compensate people for their time. I don't feel that working for free is always a good thing anyway. Like even though people will willingly accept that or want to do that, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me, I guess. I prefer people to have some sort of compensation in some way in the future or something like that. Yeah, so I guess there's a lot more involved than just simply saying just hire a team, because there's financials involved. Like I don't have like a giant investment corporation coming in and just dumping cash on. I'm not looking for that either, because in those situations you tend to lose control. They dictate what you do, and then the product doesn't really go in the direction you want anyway. So I'm trying to do this myself. I've worked for other companies and other people for a long time, and I'm not really interested in doing that sort of thing. I want to have more control in this case. So yeah, I'm going to be kind of selective with it. The wages of the people that I would prefer to hire are high because they're they're already in quite high paying jobs and that sort of thing. And so to have to convince them to come over, but in order to do that, I kind of want to have that sustainable income anyway. And then you kind of have to do the sell of, do you want to join a crypto or a blockchain game? It's still in
Right.
infancy, and a lot of people are very skeptical still. So there's a lot of hurdles in that regard to come to overcome anyway. I'm sure most of you understand that anyway.
Oh yeah.
That does make a lot of sense. And to go back on what you said in terms of you see a boom, financial boom during the event, but it then goes back down as soon as the event is done. Can you tell us anything about the plans that you have to make that revenue more consistent? Is it more events? Is it other features that we don't yet know about? Or is it a no comment response, which is also okay?
No, it's more. So, I mean, for those of you who've been around since like probably at least a year, you would have known some of the early builds of the game and how it kind of ran. It was much more arcadey because that was my original goal. Probably as the player base grew, some of my ideas and directions sort of changed for the game too. So I had to kind of build on that.